Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to Tuesday's book talk. I'm going to start off by sharing our reading rainbow to start with, and we're going to finish off the chapter we're on, and then I've got some quiz questions for you. So my first reason to read today, and this will be your first sentence out of 3, I want to focus on the lens of imagining. And it's trying to put ourselves in the shoes of the character. So as I'm reading the first part of today's text, be thinking that, and if you were Billy, and how you'd be thinking and feeling. So I got to hear, if you remember, about where Billy's now arrived, and he's out every day drawing and eagles and trying to fit in and be a tourist. But now, as he looked and drew, he was also searching out the best place to do what he had come to do, spending long cold hours on the edge of the forest, a mile or so across the valley from the Berghof, perched there high on the side of the hill. The house was bigger, grander, more imposing than Billy had imagined from the photographs he had seen of it. And there were more guards too, in black uniforms mostly. He saw all the comings and goings on the road. The cars, the trucks, the soldiers. But of Hitler himself, there was no sign. If he was there, he was not going out for his walks. All the time, as Billy was watching the eagles and drawing them, he was asking himself how he would do it when the time came, and wondering how long he would have to wait, whether Hitler would ever come. Every evening, as he sat there sketching in the bar, he would be eavesdropping, listening for any mention of the Führer. Do we know what that word eavesdropping means? Like listening in, trying to find out information. He understood a little German from prisoners in the last war. Not much, but enough to get the gist of things, enough to say thank you and please. Danke, bitte, bitteschön. There were often mentions of Adolf Hitler. He was much talked about. Then one evening, after a week or so, it seemed as if everyone in the village cafe was talking about Der Führer. They were pointing to his picture on the wall, trying to tell Billy. There was high excitement in their voices, a new excitement. Something was up. He was there. Billy was sure of it. The man he had been waiting for had arrived. His moment had come. It was time. What's he about to do? What's it time for? I'm going to stop it there and go to our reading rainbow. And I said the imagining one, didn't I? And I'd like us to take this sentence starter with the bit I've just written. The author, so Michael Morpurgo, lets us inside the central character's mind. So what I've just read, we've got a lot of clues there, a lot of inference as to how Billy's feeling and what his next step of action is. Can you answer that sentence for me? Can you go back, pause the video, go back and find some quotes to support your answer? And the bonus word, perceive, like what we seem to believe, what it looks like. Can you fit that into your sentence too? So pause the video while you write your first sentence for today. Okay, our second reason for reading today is this impact one. We talked about this, didn't we, in yesterday's English lesson, with the impact of the setting on the character. Well, I want us to think about what's going to happen next and what impact Michael Morpurgo is wanting to create. In fact, before we do that, because we're at the end of the chapter, let's just go back to our PowerPoint. I've got some quiz questions for you. So you might want to pause the video, get yourself something to write with. Question 1. On which mountains was Hitler's mountain home? Number 2, why did Billy say he was going to Germany? 3, what was the name of the Nazi sign hanging on buildings? 4, what did Billy draw on the mountains? And 5, how did the locals refer to Hitler? So if you pause the video, give yourself a few minutes to answer those. Okay, let's have a look and see if you got them all right. So on which mountains was Hitler's mountain home? It was the Bavarian Alps. 2, why did Billy say he was going to Germany? It was to draw. 3, what was the name of the Nazi sign hanging on buildings? The swastika. Remember, we saw that in one of the pages on the books. And 4, what did Billy draw on the mountains? Eagles. And how did the locals refer to Hitler? Der Führer. Did you get those all right? Okay, let's go back. So now we're on chapter 4. So for the first time the next day, when he went out walking, Billy took his sketchbook and his stool as usual, but he also took the pistol with him inside his jacket. He waited for hours hidden in the trees, longing for Hitler to take his walk, willing him to do it. He didn't come. All that came were clouds rolling up the valley, giant clouds that soon shrouded the trees, the house, the mountains. Do we know what that word means, shrouded? That covered them all. Day after day, Billy waited. Hitler never came. But despite how thick the clouds, how hard it snowed, or how cold he was, he only became more determined to stick it out, no matter what. He wasn't going to give up now. He never once in all this time doubted this was the right thing to do. He only doubted whether Hitler would come at all, whether he would ever have the opportunity to do what he had come for. He found if he concentrated hard on drawing the eagles, it helped pass the time, forget the cold, help soften the disappointment. Then one afternoon Hitler did come, and when he did, Billy wasn't ready for him. The eagle he had been drawing, which had been circling high over the peaks, went into a sudden stoop, swooping down, closer, closer, his talons open, ready for the kill. Billy hadn't even noticed the hare until the eagle was on him, landing in the open snow, only yards away from the trees where Billy was sitting. He had never in his life been this close to an eagle, and once he had recovered from the surprise, he drew fast, not wanting to miss the moment. Then, somewhere, a dog started barking. The eagle lifted off, lumbering into the air, the hare limp in his talons. A dog was bounding down through the snow towards the eagle, towards Billy, hackles up. It was a huge Alsatian, his bark and his growl fearsome, intimidating. I'm going to stop there and we'll go back to our rainbow. And I said the impact. I thought this was a really nice one to choose here. The writer's impact, so Michael Morpurgo's intended impact, what he wanted it to have at this point is, I think we know what's about to happen and what situation Billy's found himself in. How are you going to answer that? Can you go back to the text and find some quotes? And your bonus word is selected. Can you fit that into your sentence? Remember, this is your second sentence of the session. Pause the video so you've got time to work. Okay, our final reason for reading today is this inference, inferring and deducing. We talked about inference, didn't we, the other day with the setting descriptions and what we can infer from a picture and the clues it gives us. We talked about the big tent image and how it gave us part of the story before we started reading it. So have that in mind whilst I read the next section to you. That was when Billy looked up and saw Hitler in his peaked cap and his long black coat. He was still some way away. He was strolling down the road and there were 6 or 7 other men, all of them in black uniforms, 2 of them readying their rifles. Everything was happening so fast and not at all as Billy had expected it. But he kept his head. The dog would not stop him. The sight of the raised rifles would not stop him. He was going to do it. He had to. This was the opportunity he'd been waiting for all this time. And I want you to just draw your attention there. There's several short sentences which really help when authors do that, and it helps raises the pace, and that it kind of speeds it up because we know something is going to happen. He stepped calmly out of the trees and stood there on the snow-covered hillside, his pistol held behind his back, ready. There he waited. At his feet there was a splattering of blood on the snow where the eagle had made his kill. Hitler was still 100 yards off with his soldiers, some of them running now down the road towards Billy. Billy waited. It had to be close. As close as possible. He must not miss. What's he about to do? What's he trying to do? But the dog was coming closer all the while, barking wildly, snarling. Billy had waited too long. The dog was on him before he knew it, leaping up and knocking him to the ground. I wonder what's going through Billy's mind there. And I wonder what's going to happen next. So just to finish off with today, our final visit to the rainbow. Sorry, can't find it. The writer gives the reader the impression of. So what are we made to think at this part of the story by, and what's he doing? Are we made to believe that he's failed, or has he left it too late, or that he didn't really intend to kill him, or it wasn't his? We maybe were led to believe he was going to shoot Hitler, but deep down we knew Billy couldn't do that, and he's just showing us maybe this is another way of bringing him and Hitler face to face so we can talk to him. What do you think? And answer that with a quote from the text, please. And your bonus word for today is manipulate. If you're trying to manipulate a situation, could we fit that into our sentence and linking it to Billy? Okay, so that's your final sentence, your 3 sentences to today's book talk, and we will come back on Thursday and carry on. And I think we're almost there now, so by half term we will have finished the book, which will be great, and then we can quiz on it. See you later. Thank you, Year 6.